right. So welcome to everyone. This is the Sisters Talk podcast, but we're doing Friday editions right now for our Kings. And I'm so happy to have Mr. Kendrick on our line tonight on this Friday night. So why don't you give everyone a shout out, let them know who you are and where you're from.
First off, I wanted to say thank you for having me. I am originally from Shreveport, Louisiana, but I've been in Houston since 2003. One of those people who just come for school and never leave. And so
That's me.
ever since then, I've been here as an educator. 2001 started education. Now, currently, an assistant principal and elementary life, just working. On top of that, I do the podcast KTTV weekly, and we putting that out to thousands of homes. The KTTV radio show. It's a lot. I look forward to talking about it all with you
Okay.
tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to knowing more about you. So what school did you go to?
It's Hicks Elementary and A Leaf ISD. That's my school.
No, I mean like did you go to school here in Houston? Like
Oh yeah,
did you
yes.
yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah.
University of Houston downtown,
Okay.
and
Okay, you okay.
masters from Prairie View.
Oh, PV. Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, all
yeah.
right, all right.
You
So yeah,
gotta
you
get
know a
that in
lot
there.
of people here in
Yeah.
Houston. I mean, Houston is ran by PV.
Hey, that's it. So
Hmm.
I had to go when I realized what I wanted to do. I moved to College Station, lived down there, taught English, coached high school football, and then I drove back and forth to PV. Had to get it in, and then moved back to the city, and that's when it be jumped
Nice.
off.
What was your experience living in College Station?
And I love that place. It
Really?
was awesome. Yeah, it's they got trees. That's the first thing. Hey,
Yeah.
anything. So when I moved back, I lived 7 minutes away from my house because I lived that
Hmm.
way. I mean, 7 minutes away from my job because I lived that way in Bryan so long until
Okay.
anything else just didn't seem right. So real
Yeah.
hometown feeling. I love it, man. You got to retire there.
Nice. Wow, College Station though. I went there when I was in high school. You know how they give you like the previews of what college is gonna be like, and I was just like, I don't want to do this because it was so much like farmland on the way going down. I was like,
Yes.
where are we going? It was like in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere to me,
I
you
mean,
know?
I loved it. You think about College Station and the students that really attend. You got middle to high class, Caucasian students, and so
Hmm.
then they later become those teachers that fill the schools in Bryan and College Station. And so then you
True.
think about how do you connect their lifestyle to the 70 or 80% African American population they serve. And so that's where a lot of my work began on just figuring out how do I connect those two worlds and build
Hmm.
empathy instead of sympathy for our students. And so a lot of the work was done there. So I love that place for that. Then football coach, track coach, so just even getting to experience Texas Friday Night Lights, it was real.
Maybe I should have gave it a chance. That sounds amazing. I just, it just did not. Anyways, different strokes for different folks. But I'm
Hey,
glad that you went there with a purpose.
yes,
And I like what you said about empathy, not sympathy.
yeah,
That needs to be a theme moving forward for all 2021. Because, I have noticed a lot of us look for sympathy, not empathy. I think we
mhm,
get it confused. That's another talk for another day. But
hey, it's
today, we
real.
want you to expand more on your journey, some of your challenges that you face being an entrepreneur. Just kind of let people know who may be just now logging on, like what you do, what encouraged you to do what you're doing, and what's your mission,
Mhm,
what's your purpose, where are you going,
yes,
where do you want to, what are the goals you want to achieve?
man. I will start by saying, out of every tragedy, there is the potential for a true triumph. What happened for me was my brother committed suicide. And 2 weeks later, I found out that a friend, one of my best friends, died. And so that happened pretty close to each other, and it really changed a lot for me in life because I don't have a lot of people here in Houston because I have no family, and so the people that pulled in, or I found my brother. just online. I found him, like, and we look the same, but we never met before until maybe 2007. So we've been tight ever since. So that was a big loss. And what I did was I took those losses and I turned it into KTTV. And so I said, every day, if you follow me on social media, you'll see the quotes that I put up, because I want to say, what if I put this out and someone could see it and it gives them another day or gives them a reason to reach out. And so on top of those, it was the work that I did with the podcast. I said, well, how can I get information out to people and change the way that they see things? And so that's what I started doing. I started putting out podcasts every week. I started putting out those quotes. And from there, it just bloomed into a full media company. And so now we got the podcast going out each week. I got the radio show that's going out on Sundays. We got the quotes. We're doing ads. I mean, it's just a lot now. But it all bloomed out of that. This was my therapy to really kind of get through those losses that I took. And so that's pretty much it. I talk to educators, entrepreneurs, and I've been doing a lot of work now inside of the city of Houston, just talking to like Houston Parks boards or Volunteer Houston, those people.
Love it. I love that it comes from a real place,
Yeah.
and you turn that pain into something positive for someone
Yes.
else to be uplifted. That is so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what were some of your challenges in creating this podcast, this platform for
Mhm.
your voice to be heard? Were there any major challenges that you faced?
Oh, yeah. The biggest thing about it is it's just been me, the full time. And so when you think about just until recently, a few months ago, it was setting up the podcast. It was making, still is now, that's the only part I took off, but it's making the flyers, editing the videos, making the clips, writing the questions, doing all the correspondence, just doing those things and still having to come back on the back end and promote it too. And
Right.
so a lot of that just took away time. And I mean, when I tell you,
Mhm.
for the last year and a half, my lunch has been eaten on a natural. But so the biggest challenge is time, but as I grow more and learn resources, I'm starting to be able to get it back, by hiring people sometimes to do what I need.
Yeah, understood. We all understand that.
Hey, I'm
So
telling you.
yeah, that can be a challenge. So let me ask you, are you teaching, or you say you're an assistant principal? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Are you?
yes.
So how does that balance out? I mean, that's a lot to be an
Yeah, it is.
assistant principal and have your own business going on too. How do you
Yeah.
balance those?
Short days. I mean, long days and short nights. That that's pretty much it. Because I try to stay committed at school, and so really, I'm just um paving the ground at work, and so I'm lapping. I'm working in the office, but as soon as I get out of school and
Mhm.
I start to get home, I go to work. And so then it takes pretty much all night. I mean, it may be 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, but I'm posting those videos, I'm editing, I'm doing everything. So the balance is working. The business is good. It's just my life. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's where the time like really got taken out of. But like I say, as you grow and the business shifts, you get a chance to get that back. But
Mhm.
staying consistent that first year, it took a lot. So that was one of the biggest challenges. But I'm getting there with the balance.
Yeah, you getting in the groove. That's what it takes,
Yes,
that dedication.
yes.
So, knowing that you're working with the kids, kind of not. I guess it's more administrative than you working directly
Hmm.
with the kids. But you had to. I'm assuming you had to teach first before you
Yes.
moved up the corporate ladder. So,
Mhm.
let me ask you, as a teacher, did you ever encourage students, especially male students, to think more entrepreneurial as opposed to being workers? Just going to school and get a job. Like, what are some things you've done to help motivate the children to think for themselves, and
Yeah.
pave their own way?
So I will go back to my experience in Bryan, as a matter of fact. So since 2001 in education, I've only been a special education teacher.
Mhm.
And with that, I've only did emotionally disturbed students. for a lot of my career, which entails lead me to that class, or most of those people labeled ED were African American young males, And so you think about overrepresentation of how that number of special education black males is high. And so a lot of these kids would come, and I worked with a group home that was labeled, I want to say high risk kids, but they would come in very violent, very aggressive. And this was the only way that you can almost qualify to live at this house. As soon as you get calm or you don't meet that criteria, they have to let you go. And so that is the type of students that I build up when I was a high school educator for maybe like 4 years in College Station. And so I would work with these kids. They would come in from different places, but I did a credit recovery class, and so then it would be, I'll teach, we'll do our regular classes, but in between then, if you want to go and jump 2 grades because you're so behind. So for instance, one kid, when I got there the first year, he was in 9th. By the end of the year, he was a junior. And this was still on top of the classes that I had to teach. And so those are just the ways that I would teach these kids skills, like, just social
Life
skills that you need. Yeah.
Right.
And so in turn, that teaches them how to go out and build those connections. And so that was pretty much the plan.
That's awesome. So I have questions from a personal standpoint. So when we think about the curriculums that are in these schools right now, is it fair to say, and I don't know if you can speak on this, but is it fair to say that some of the curriculums are outdated? We need to update what we're teaching our children and dive a little bit more into life skills. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree. I do not take away that school is still kind of borderline, like you say, teach you to be a great worker. All the time we ask kids to follow directions or things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I am seeing a shift to where we are allowing kids and requiring kids to be more of thinkers, to be more problem solvers as we introduce more STEM into classrooms and real life application. So I'm seeing a shift, but then you just think about, you really want to hone into that more, hone into finances more, hone into just real life situations. And so right now, the traditionals are still being highlighted. You're reading, writing, and arithmetic. So that is still being highlighted. But I think there's a shift that's starting to begin, though, because people are seeing that school makes you a worker. And so then how do we build leaders coming out? And so if you got forward leading administrators, I think it turns itself.
Also, too, in conjunction with that, I remember earlier in this interview, you mentioned that you were trying to bridge the 2 worlds together, right? Of middle high class and then African American communities or lower income communities. Were you successful in achieving that at the time that you were there for the duration of your stay there?
I would say yes. I would have to say yes, because I was able to read a book by a guy, Principal Kafele, and it was motivating African American or minority males. Motivate minority males to achieve inside and outside of the classroom. And so through that, as I was finishing up my grad school work, I was able to kind of talk to those teachers and have those meetings with teachers to give them a perspective of, one, coming from where some of these kids came from. The curriculum is not my first worry. A pencil is not my first worry. Or being on time is not my first worry, because I ain't ate since I left here yesterday. And I was late this morning, so I didn't get anything to eat for breakfast. So don't feel sorry. Don't hold me to nothing less. Just understand that and maybe have me some to the side if you just know this is my situation. And I guarantee you that child will give you everything he has. And so that was just being able to get that message across to people who didn't know that at first. I would say that was success.
Nice. Yeah, I like the fact that you hit on some real facts. That's some kids' reality every day. So I have some more questions too. But I just know certain things you can talk about, certain things you probably can't. But I guess, what would be your advice to young men Well, before I ask that question, let me ask one question in between that. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges that African American men face in terms of cultivating a plan, a strategy for their lives after they leave high school, or even just getting through high school?
I want to say exposure. Exposure. If you don't know, you simply can't do. Um,
Right.
I tell we, at college, I mean, not at college, but at school, even in elementary, we're working hard to expose kids to college. So my counselor, Miss Spiller, she does a tell your college story. So I tell mine to the kids, and I tell them I didn't really know about college until March of my senior year. And, I want to say I asked my boy, man, what are you doing after school? And he said college. I said, man, what is that? And so that's how I end up learning. And we talking about that mad dash to get in your financial aid. But
No kidding. March is when you found out.
yes,
Oh
yes.
my God.
I'm saying like found out like this is a thing. And so
Yeah.
because I was the first person to go to college in my family,
In your okay, got it. Makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
Yes. And so if you don't know about those things, then you don't really you can't plan. And so
Mm-hmm.
then and so I don't know how much prevalent that is going as I'm out of the high school arena in
Mm-hmm.
my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana. But I do know that if we don't expose ourselves and have someone to be able to pump that knowledge in, they will not be successful because they simply will not know the resources that are there for them.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Wow. Hmm. Okay, so that's interesting to know that even for you, it was a challenge for you. And I mean, it was just that it happened to be your friend that even exposed you to it. Had you
Yes.
not had that conversation, maybe you wouldn't even be, that says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So would you say it's mainly up to the parents to expose these children? Or what would you say about the schools? Like where you're,
Yeah.
for example, in your case, did your high school ever mention, hey, y'all need to get these college applications in by such and such deadline? Like was that
Mhm.
ever a conversation?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was, but I was the kind of student that wasn't because I wasn't exposed to it at home. When you think about the
Mm-hmm.
parents, if the parents don't know about it, how can they give it to the kids? So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
on the school to blast it. But for me, because that was just not on my radar, yeah, no, I was working after school, going to work, had my own car, just
Yeah.
doing stuff. So I thought that was gonna be the way for me. So I think it was in school, but I didn't hear it because I wasn't
Okay,
trying to.
got it. Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
fair because when you're in high school, there's no telling where your mind is. But we
yeah,
all know
yeah.
that teenagers are teenagers.
Hmm.
So I want to ask you, what would be your best advice to adult males that are just trying to find their way right now, especially with COVID going on? Maybe they had a decent job and lost it. What would be your
Hmm.
advice to those men? How do you
Yeah,
uplift them in a situation like this?
I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna have to do a shameless plug here. But if you go to kttv.com and you will see some of the videos I did. And the awesome thing about this is doing all these interviews, they change and affect my life as well. So I was talking to Andy Thibault, and she told me that
Shout
she
out to
became
Andy. I know her by the way, but yeah, keep
yeah,
going.
that she became a financial strategist and she taught herself. I said, man, wait a minute. Never thought about it before. Like, you know what? If I take the time, I could do this myself. And so the
Hmm.
first thing I would tell to anybody is educate yourself, invest in yourself, whether that's time, whether that's money, or whether that is simply just digging through the crates. Because
Exactly.
I didn't know about before the pandemic. I really wasn't on my stock game, and like now it's
Oh,
going
oh,
crazy.
listen, before when that pandemic really hit in March, it was time to
Yeah,
clean house. For people who didn't have Tesla stocks, that was the time. It was at
yeah,
$350 per share.
yes,
Oh, we
that's
have
it.
a comment from, I think this may be Asia, but she's under Sister's Top. She's one of the Sister's Top girls, queens.
Hey,
She says self education is key.
you have to
Yes.
be. You have to be. And so that's it. But I learned about my credit, just building it. So like it wasn't bad because I had just bought a house, but how do you maximize it? So I learned about the swipe game. Just a whole bunch of people that I just built up, but it was all teaching myself and digging and taking the time to watch these videos, read this book. And so if you don't have no money, get that knowledge, and I guarantee you the money will come because you get to be in the places that you need to be in.
Yes, yes. Oh,
And that's
thank you,
it.
Nathan. Good job. What did I do? But thank you. I guess having you on the show, Mr.
Hey,
Kendrick,
hey,
because
well,
we
look.
need to uplift our African American men. Like we have to. When I look at some of the statistics of the salaries for Black men in America, I mean, it just floored me. We're talking about 23,000 a year on average.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that's crazy. Like, how can you live off
Yeah,
of that amount? And we're talking about men who have families, who have
yeah,
multiple children. Yes, yes, that's what we're all about. Black unity. Yes, we have to wake a lot of people up because they're asleep.
mhm,
And I feel like I have to dedicate every Friday to my kings. 2 Fridays out of a month, let you guys speak and share what's on your heart. Also, let's see, we have more comments coming in. That's crazy. You can't even live off of 40K a year.
I'm telling you.
Facts.
Okay. And
But
so
yet
that's
there's so
how
many
that's the
people out here.
cycle.
Yeah, but see, that's my point in asking you these questions is how do we
Mhm.
break that? How do we tap into
Yeah,
the psyche and
yeah.
literally wake up these unconscious thinkers and walkers? I mean, it's almost like people are doing things robotically and they're not really thinking about the outcomes, the future. They're not thinking
Mhm.
about, okay, am I creating a path of wealth or am I creating a pattern of poverty and despair later for myself?
Yeah.
Nathan says the U.S. is way behind on fair pay compared to other countries.
Have
Agreed.
to.
Also on fair vacation too.
Hmm.
There's some countries that can go up to 12 months paid.
Yeah.
You know, he says we
Yeah.
have to change the law.
And I think the biggest thing in understanding that is what I try to preach to my students all the time. A job is not the way to get out of poverty. Like a job is going to keep you maybe a roof over your head, but you have to get that education.
Yeah.
That is the only way that you get yourself out of poverty because that opens way more doors than that 9 to 5 when you tunnel vision because this is
Hmm.
all you really got time for.
Right.
So giving my kids that jewel is the best way. I think that we change, the future for those young guys who are like 6 to 9 years old.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Because the thing about jobs is they can fire you, or they can be gracious enough to lay you off, where you get paid a little something maybe. But the reality is, it's not yours. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you kind of want to create your own separate avenue of income and strategize your technique on reaching wealth, real wealth. We're not talking about just being rich. There's a difference
Mhm.
between rich and wealthy.
Mhm.
So you definitely want to learn how to find out ways to leave that wealth behind for your kids, for your kids'
Yes.
kids. And so that way, when they're growing up, they don't have to struggle as much as you did. But I'm just seeing this never ending cycle in our
Yeah.
community. And I'm saying to myself, what's the disconnect? Why are we not getting
Mhm.
it? Nathan says facts. Vacation is important all
Hey,
day, every day. I
mental
need
well.
one right now.
Hey,
This is
I will
not
tell
water.
you.
This is not water. I'm having my
Hey,
vacation.
it's Friday. And I see the comment. I was gonna say, so for me, I have like the podcast, the radio show, and so those generate ads and money, and then I have a resale shop that generates. I have the t-shirt company that generates, and then of course I'm still a principal, right? And so
Yeah.
we have all of those coming in, and so I've been doing that for a while, and the part that bothers me is I try to bring, the people I know and my friends because I want to say, look, y'all, this the bread truck. Let's try to do this together and put ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, I find that it's just me. You know what I mean? And so I
Do
extend out
I?
to
Wait a
them.
minute, pause. Do I?
Hey,
Yes. Yes, I do.
yeah,
But keep going.
yes, yeah. Well, I mean, but that's the thing, though. And so you want to be able to break that, and you want to be able to help people break it. And so then, man, but you can't make them. And so it's just sad because it's so many, and we talking about at least 5 brothers, 5 that you say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, I'm doing this. I just
Mm.
finished Loud Fest last week. Okay, well, I'm going to do this at Loud Fest, man. Come on down. You're a musician. Let's get you an interview too.
Right.
Get out there. I'm gonna bring you in with me with the brand. And
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I appreciate that, Nathan, because it's
Oh, I'm
real.
about to show it. I'm so sorry. I was just letting you finish. So, okay. So, Asia says a job will keep you in property. And
Hey,
then, yeah, property. You know what she said here?
yeah,
Poverty.
yeah,
Poverty. Sorry, Asia. And the next one, education and history is critical. Man, I used to hate history, but if you
yeah.
don't know your history, how the heck do you know
Mhm.
where you're going? If you don't know where you came from, you know? And that's a big deal. We need multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. Yes, he's giving you the hand clap.
Hey,
Just catching up. Good job, brother. An army of one to start a trend. Keep it up, bro.
yes,
Oh,
sir.
that's good.
Yes,
That's
sir.
nice.
Yeah,
But what you said
yeah,
is all facts.
man.
And I wanted to hit on something that you said earlier, but I may have lost it. Because we taught you dropped so many gems. I was like, oh, I
Hey,
want to go back to that, but I had to read all these the comments. But keep the comments coming, guys. I know what you're saying when you say you can't make people do things. You can lead them to success. It's going to be up to them to actually take the leap of faith. And when you're talking about on average a salary of $23,000, you better be having at least 5 good solid extra streams of income with a salary, like that. And that's not to down talk anybody that's doing it. If you're
mhm,
doing that, you're doing the best you can do. Kudos to you. I'm hoping for the best. But there's too much information at our fingertips for us to be selling for that amount, you know?
yes,
Um,
yeah,
and, and then you have to look at how that income affects the unity of relationships, keeping families together or not. Typically, when you're talking about marriage, I think the number one factor is finance. That's the reason why
mhm,
people get divorces because somebody either lost their job or they're going out gambling, spending all the money, and the relationship is not viable financially. So now you look at the male, which in traditional relationships, we know these days things aren't anywhere close to traditional anymore. But as an example,
mhm,
the male is typically looked upon to take care of everything financially.
mhm,
And you can't do it if you're only making 23K a year. It's
yeah,
it's impossible.
mhm. And
So
then
what
that's
would
when we get
be
hustles.
yeah, and my thing is, I know, and now I know what I was going to talk to you about when you said you had 5 friends that you're like, hey, I'm trying to get you in the door with opportunities to make residual income, but it seems like they're just not getting that. You're trying to help them. And
Mhm.
what I understand about that recently, as of this year, is that a lot of us don't trust each other. Would you
Mhm.
agree or disagree with that?
I would definitely, and with them, I don't know. I hope that's not the case because we've been down. Like I know the same people for so long, but
Mm-hmm.
in general, of course not. I think that's how we're programmed, though. I think
Mm.
that's how we're programmed not to trust each other. It should be the other way around, but
Right.
it's not. People are very, very leery, and so that a lot of times takes us out of the conversations that we need to be in. Because
Mm-hmm.
we keep that guard up because that's just the way we're trained.
Yeah.
So I agree. We don't.
And then we have there's a mindset shift that needs to take place for us to grow as a community. Agreed.
Yes. Yes.
I definitely agree. So I want to thank you so much for coming on our show today. I'm not going to let you go just yet. Obviously, I want you to shout out every which way that people can find you.
Yeah.
And after you do that, let us know, put it out in the atmosphere, whatever it is that you need. Like if you're looking for interns to help you, push your business, go ahead and say whatever it is that you need. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay. Well, look. First, I want to say to keep up with all of the social media, all of the posts, all of the shows. I got a great one tomorrow with Garrick Jones. He wants to be the Houston, Texas GM. So go to
Nice.
KTTV.com and follow so you can really stay locked into everything we got going. And right now, I am really making it very accessible for business owners to promote their business, whether it be through the podcast or be through the radio show. So just drop me a line. Let's work together. And I mean, really super, super cheap. But I think that is a way to get it together, get that marketing budget. And before I go, I just want to give one more tip. Look, people, I know, like we talked about the money and the salary median today for males, but I want to say it only takes $25 to $35. If you go on Robinhood, you can put in fractional shares, right? Even if you don't want a single stock exposure.
Oh, wait, let me interject. Robinhood is an app that they can download on their cell phones. For people who don't know. Mm-hmm.
And so you can get in $25 out of a paycheck and buy you a piece of that thing and keep going and just let it sit there. But let's change the way we see things as far as our finances, as far as our mental health, as far as our life in general. And if you want to know how to do that more, follow me at KTTEEV.com. We there.
Period. I love it.
Yeah.
What about on Facebook? Can they find you on the same KTTEEV?
Yes.
Yes. Just KTTEEV?
Yeah, just KTTEEV. And so I did just have to start up the new page, but it should pop up because you know how Facebook be. That's why y'all got to make sure to get y'all email list because that social media will get you.
Well, I really appreciate your transparency today. I asked you a couple of things that were a little above the rim, but it was something that was on my heart to ask, especially since you're an assistant principal. I feel like, teachers, principals, assistant principals, your job is to definitely educate the future. And I just have so many issues with the way we're still teaching our kids. It's just we have to update it. Like technology, I know technology is already like surpass where we are as a society. So it's like we definitely need to start catching up. And we need to, when you said something about exposure earlier in this interview, it's so important that in school, some of these schools still don't have the basic resources that they need, the essential resources they need for these students to be successful in STEM. And so in order for our, especially African American men, to start going out and qualifying for these jobs that pay 50, 60K or more, they're going to have to be exposed to the STEM program and other programs with updated material so that they're learning at real time, not 30 years prior. Does it make sense? Because a lot of the curriculums that I'm seeing are so outdated that even if they did do the same curriculum as school A that has a 2020 book, school B, which is low income, that has a book from 1995, it's not going to be, there's no comparison. The competition is blown out of the water because this student A had access to the most recent, up-to-date, current material, while student B was left behind by 20-something years with his education, and he was unaware of it. So I just feel like if we can start closing those disadvantages there, that will help our students significantly. Also, something that I wanted to add to this whole conversation is the fact that there are so many children, like you said earlier, that have behavioral issues. Some of that stems from environment, some of that stems from just genetics. Either way, I was thinking maybe we can start finding more. Maybe I can talk to you off the air about this, is finding more creative ways to make classes suitable for children who have these differences, right? They don't have the ability to sit still for an hour straight. Maybe we'll form the curriculum into a video game. Maybe we'll do things that will stimulate. And some of these schools are already doing this, but maybe find creative ways that engages the students so that they're not dropping out, so that they're not just giving up on themselves, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just something that was...
It starts with the relationship between that teacher and that student. If you know that student, then you plan for that student.
Right.
And maybe that's a student that needs to be moving. Then you get them wobble stools. You get them like pedals where they can sit at their desk and move their feet. But you do something like that, and then you keep them engaged because nobody in this world should be talking to anybody for an hour straight, right? So we look at the So we look at the way that the lesson is planned out. I need a 15-minute quick short burst lesson. And then after that, I'll pull you in a smaller group where I can concentrate on you more while making the rest of the room applicable to things that they would like to do as far as our centers and things. So in elementary, that's the way we kind of do it to try to keep it engaged. But you have to be creative, you have to be consistent, and you have to be innovative within your community area, classroom community, to make sure that you are giving it, because they are in every class.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
Nathan says he's open to helping mentor students for IT careers. So there you go. Maybe you guys need to
Yeah.
link up, make it
Hey.
happen.
Yeah, because once
Yeah.
the world opened back up, we wanted to be able to have people come in and talk. I do a boys club on my campus where we do maybe
Nathan would be the
25, 30,
perfect
30
person.
males. Yeah, and so
He
that's
would,
it.
yeah, I'll make sure to give him your information and you guys can talk it up. He's an IT professional, so he's like the perfect person to do that.
That's cool.
And yeah, so we're gonna wrap things up. Thank you so much, Mr. Kendrick. You were amazing.
Man, thank
I
you.
didn't expect anything less.
Man,
So
I appreciate it.
I'm definitely looking forward to having you on sometime next year. I want
Okay.
to hear some of the projects that you're going to be working on, and definitely going to check out your show. I'm going to make sure to highlight and put that back up here. There you go. You can find him on Facebook, KTTV, or you can go to his website where you can find everything, kttv.com. So thank you so much for joining us today. I pray you have a blessed weekend, and everybody that's watching, we will see you on next Friday. We're going to have Arthur Frank Jordan. Oh my God. Now, this conversation was, surface. It was lightweight. Next Friday, we're going in. Be ready. Grab your glass of wine. Get you some popcorn. It's going down. All right. All right, Mr. Kendrick. I'll see you next time. All right.
All right. Have a good
All
one.
right. Y'all have a blessed one. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.